Welcome back to another episode of the M3 podcast. It's your host, Brianna Danielle. I have Nevaeh Lowe with me. She is a women's health coach and CEO of Balance Babe Fitness. Nevaeh is known for helping women who feel like they've tried everything, the workouts, the diets, the discipline, yet still don't see that they feel the results they deserve. Through her data-driven, balanced approach to fitness, nutrition, and mindset, she helps women build strength, confidence, and sustainable habits without burnout or extremes. Nevaeh's mission is to prove that health doesn't have to be all or nothing. It can be aligned, empowering, and actually fit into real life. I'm so excited to dive into her journey, her coaching philosophy, and what balance really looks like when it comes to women's health. So welcome, Nevaeh.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. I love any sort of podcast I can get on with someone who's a powerful woman in the space of fitness is my jam. So I'm so excited.
And right away, I noticed, I'm like, you've got some hand tattoos too, girl.
I do. I know. I'm like, we're matching.
We're matching. I love this.
Were your tattoos the most painful tattoos you have too, or no?
They actually were pretty up there because I was doing the hand poke. I did a hand poke version.
Way worse. I'm like, I sound like such a baby now because I'm like, mine were definitely not that way, and they were still my most painful ones. It's so funny.
It was like up by the fingertips is what it felt like for me. Yes.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting it. I went in thinking they were going to be the easiest tattoos, and then she got closer and closer to my fingernail. I was like, okay, this is a lot more painful than I thought, but I love them. I love them.
Well, I want to hear a little bit of your background because already I'm like, tattoos tell me stories. So I want to know what your background's like, a little bit of your upbringing, hear your story from there if we can, hear about that.
Absolutely. So I have grown up in the fitness space my whole life. My mom is a 5-time world natural bodybuilding world champion. So that was my life forever. She's been competing for 15 plus years. So watch that life. My dad owns a holistic supplement company, and he trains holistic doctors on how to use more natural ways of medicine and supplements in their clinics and things along those lines. My family's just been active our whole lives, but that was the thing that kept our family really close. I think everyone has their ups and downs of family and things and trials, and growing up there were some pretty big things that rocked our world, but fitness was the one thing that kept my family really close. We would all train together, we would all be in the gym together. It was just the one space that everyone felt really just safe in, and so it's been a part of my upbringing my whole life.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So, I mean, your journey from working on your own health and fitness company as a CEO of Balance Babe to me is super inspiring. So I want to share a moment where you realized coaching women was your calling.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you don't feel like you are in a place where you're fulfilling your true calling, figure it out. Figure out what it is, because I feel so passionate about coaching, not only just being my job, but my calling on this earth. And I went through a little bit of a process right after graduating high school where I went to aesthetic school because I wanted, I always knew I wanted to help women feel more confident. That was my jam. But I was going to aesthetic school, and after I left my house, after forever of eating good foods and working out and things, after I had a little more freedom on my own, you're fresh out of high school, I was like, okay, now I just get to eat whatever I want, going out more with my friends, all the things. And it started to really play a role in my health. My skin was breaking out horribly. I had the worst energy. I couldn't focus in class. It was so bad. And I had never experienced that before. And none of the estheticians could figure it out. We tried every serum, every treatment, everything, and nothing was working. And so I finally was like, okay, you just needed to bite the bullet and be like, okay, Dad, let's get my blood work done. Let's get back to healthy. And the second we got my blood work done, the second that we got my labs in and I started getting my health back under control and I started to take the right supplements, everything got a million times better. My skin cleared up. I felt way better. My energy was better. And it was in that moment where I was like, okay, I'm not going to help women feel confident by some topical treatment that I'm doing in an aesthetic clinic. It is going to be from the inside out, because nothing was working for me. So literally in the middle of aesthetic school, I got my training license. I started shadowing under another trainer. And the second I graduated, I just went right into training. And so it was this big shift in my mind that confidence wasn't going to come from where I thought it was for women. It was going to have to be deeper than that.
And I mean, your skin is all clear now, and like you look amazing too. So something must have worked, and you're like, I need to share this with the world.
Yes, absolutely. I think growing up, I didn't realize how impactful health was because it was just a part of it forever. And so when I left on my own and then didn't have that as much of a center in my life, I was like, oh my gosh, it really does play such an impact on how you feel. And there's so many women that don't know that or just haven't been able to experience that yet. And so then from there, it just became my mission that everyone had ways to heal from the inside out.
Yeah. Well, okay. So many women feel like they've like quote unquote done the work, but they aren't seeing the results. So I want to know what some of the common reasons you found for that and how you help them break through that too.
Yes. Okay, so I don't want to, I hope this doesn't come across rude a little bit, but the number one thing I found is there's a gap between perceived consistency and actual consistency. And usually
Facts.
this, yeah, I'm like, like probably sounds a little blunt, but I think most people think they're consistent and they are consistent in some areas. But when you really like audit and sit down their habits, there's often areas where you're lacking so much consistency. It's like maybe they're really good at nutrition, but they get workouts in maybe twice a week, or like their steps are crap, but they're really good at water. And so, what I've noticed is like awareness is like the first thing. So, that's a big thing I talk about when any client comes on is like, okay, let's sit down and let's be really, really truthful with ourselves and we audit everything. Because a lot of the time they'll come in and they're like, I'm doing everything right now. And I'm like, I love you so much, but I think the energy's in the wrong place. Like, I think we have some spaces we're missing. So that's the first thing is like actually understanding where consistency is and maybe where we're lacking. And that's the number one I found is that we have to get super truthful. A lot of the times we aren't always wanting to get super freaking truthful with ourselves. But number two would probably be like the actions versus identity thing. And I'm a really big non negotiable person, really big in my coaching. And something I always tell people is like non negotiables are who you are, not just what you do. And I think sometimes we don't take what we're doing in our day as seriously because we don't think it defines us. We don't think it is what we're doing in our life. And so a lot of the time, the number one shift I see happen is when we sit down and we're like, okay, who do you want to be? Like, let's make a really clear vision because vague goals create vague results. And let's decide what you're doing in the day and what that means for you. And I always give the example of my mom runs every single morning. Like, we could be on a random vacation and the chick's running around the house. I'm like, what are you doing? But it's like, that's her thing. It proves to her that she's a world champion. It's like, that is her identity. And so for a lot of my women, we just have to create that connection between like what you're doing and it being your identity and who you are, not just like little actions that they're taking. So I would say those would be like the number two things that end up helping women see the change they're actually wanting to. And then obviously the data driven plans of like blood work and actually knowing what's going on inside of your body instead of guessing too.
Well, okay, your Instagram describes you as data driven. And so, how do you balance specific evidence based strategies with the very personal, emotional side of women's health and fitness?
Love it. It's actually so funny. I've had a few people get on calls before and they'll be like, "Okay, what do you mean data? Like, am I about to be on this like bro diet?" Like, and they're so nervous and I'm like, "Okay, let me explain." We focus a lot on individual data. So rather than just saying like we do science-backed workouts where it's like a very cookie cutter thing, because for some people when you say science-backed, like these are the 5 workouts we do and we only do them this way because of this. For us, that means very personal data. So we get a full blood work panel done right away with our girls when they're working with us. And we're able to run every number under the sun from everything within hormones to nutrient deficiencies. And that really helps us be able to customize their plan because it tells us how they're breaking down carbs, how they're breaking down proteins, nutrient deficiencies that are causing the anxiety they're experiencing, or things along those lines. And then it helps us tailor. So then we get to tailor their food to that. We get to tailor their supplements to that, which then makes it very, very data driven for them because when we get their blood work done again, they're seeing what's changing from the inside out. There's really their cellular health. But then if we're looking outside of the science part of it and we're looking at like their life, I think it's really important to incorporate what someone's life looks like into their plans. I'm not going to give someone who's up at 4 a.m. and going to bed at 7 p.m. a 3 hour split in the gym. That's just not realistic. And so, as much as we're following the science and the proven strategies that have worked with all of the women we've worked with, it's very tailored to how we do it. So we have a specific way of how we eat, and we have a specific way of how we do exercise, but that might look like one woman's doing it in her house with dumbbells and one woman's doing it in the gym. One woman is eating every 3 hours, but it is meals that she's cooking on her stove because she loves it and it takes more time. And another woman has pre-made, super easy, simple chicken and rice. And so just very structured in our program, but very easy to tailor to their lifestyle. Because I think that's how you actually create a transformation, is understanding both.
You had mentioned earlier about getting blood work done and using that as data too. Do you look at blood work when you are with your clients as well?
Yes, I do. So my dad's holistic supplement company actually started this program, and it allows health professionals to be able to send in a script to get like a full 70 plus marker panel done. And then you get certified on reading blood work, and then we're able to go over it with them and go over their nutrient deficiencies. So that's a full, really big part of our process at the beginning, is like them understanding what each number means too, because I honestly think that people are confused with their health because a lot of the time the medical industry is trying to confuse you with your health. It's like all these big numbers, but if you can break it down and simplify it, the more you understand, the less you're scared of it. And the more you're like, oh, I can control this, I can fix this, and you have more power in it. So that's like the number one thing we go over with each of our clients, is like their specific numbers and how they can understand it too, so that if someone else tries to tell them something different, they have the knowledge to be able to be like, hey, I know exactly what this means. Like, you can't confuse me anymore.
Yes, I agree. Well, okay. Now, Balance Babe Fitness emphasizes balance over extremes. And I want to know how you help clients shift from the all or nothing mindset towards sustainable habits too.
I love this question because I also think that balance is like, okay, I've been to so many seminars where they'll be like, balance isn't a thing. We hate balance. And I'm like, okay, I promise balance isn't just eating a cookie every single day. I think that the first thing is understanding what balance means. And for us, what balance means is a sustainable, healthy lifestyle that you are able to keep forever, right? And you're able to maintain. And that looks different for everyone. But the one common denominator that we found is that balance doesn't come without knowledge. Like, you have to be extremely clear on your knowledge before you can have the balance. And so we go through phases. Like, our first phase is, I always call it like going to school, but like that's where we initially create like discipline and understanding of everything that's going on. And this isn't a forever phase. This is like that first phase where, just like when you're first going into school, you're learning, you're diving head first, but now it's like adding and subtracting. You're just something you do now and you don't even think about it. That's the same thing for us. Like, there is a time frame where we have to pour more energy into the why behind it, because there isn't such thing as balance without that understanding. So that's the first phase, is like making sure they know a very, very, very in-depth knowledge of what's going on in their body and why they're doing things. And then I think after that, our second part is the lifestyle sustainability part of it, making sure that it's tailored to them, like understanding why we do things and when we do them, but then going into the part that's like, hey, we don't remove entire food groups. Let's just make sure that we're adding in some more nutrients here. You can still have your favorite meals, but let's make them more macro friendly and more nutrient dense. Or let's not slash calories. Let's just add in more fiber and veggies. And so it's all about, for us, making exchanges and swaps that feel like they're able to still enjoy their life. And it doesn't have to be like this structured, rigid thing after they've learned and gone through the process of being a little bit more rigid. And I think that's the one step that people forget, is you can't just jump into balance. Like, you can't just jump into like half-assing something, and being like getting the result you want. You do have to have that time frame of like learning and then phasing it into your life a little bit more.
I agree. And I know like personal experience too with clients, like some are macro trackers, but others are not. And I'm curious how you balance the both of your type of clients, where you have a client who does track macros, but maybe you have the client who refuses to track macros, because I do have those, and what you do to cater to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love macros, but I also get both sides of it. Like, sometimes it's like, I don't want to think about what I'm eating. Our plan is very tailored to the busy woman. When I was creating Balanced Babe, it came across the same thing, and that everyone was busy. Like, no matter if it was a mom, a business owner, someone going to school, And so what we do is a little bit different. We start everyone off on a meal plan, but our meal plan is structured a little bit differently. How we have it is like we have some very set places, timing that everyone eats to get that down. But then every meal has like 5 options. So they can choose any of the options in the lunch, any of options in breakfast, but they're all the same macros. So that way, when the macros state at lunch, these are the ones you're going to be using. Without having to track, they're gaining a knowledge of what they're eating. So it's like, okay, I know every single one of these meals is 30 carb, 8 fat, whatever it is. And they're starting to learn as they're eating without tracking it, what that looks like, what that feels like, how full they are. And then that way it's creating that knowledge without tracking. And then we have the ability, once we're 3-4 months in, that people can go on their own and start tracking. But I'm very specific with like letting people track right off the bat, because I'm like, how good are you at tracking? So usually that's the first process. And then if someone wants to go into the process of tracking on their own, we let them do that. And then some people just love staying on the meal plans and they stick with that and stay there if they aren't wanting to track at that point.
What are your thoughts on intuitive eating?
Okay.
I think we have the same thought.
Okay. I think intuitive eating works because people have tracked macros for the long enough time that they get it. I don't think intuitive eating works when you haven't tracked macros for a long period of time. And that's what I think people don't understand. You have these people who have been competitors and pros in what they're doing forever, for 10, 12, 15 years. And then they come online and they're like, hey, try intuitive eating. It's great. And it's like, yes, you can intuitively eat because you know exactly what 4 ounces of chicken looks like. You know exactly what a cup of rice looks like. For an average person, they don't. They don't know what 4 ounces of chicken looks like, what 3 ounces of potatoes looks like. So truly, I don't think intuitive eating is the best way to get to your goals. I like, that's my very honest opinion. If you're in a maintenance, it could work for a little bit, but then you're always going to have to go back to, well, what are even the calories I'm at in my maintenance? Like, you have to have data. Without data, you don't get progress. And so I think a lot of the time, the people who are really good at intuitive eating have tracked for years and years and years and years, and they're kind of just tracking macros in their head and not even knowing it.
I 100% agree with you.
I'm so glad. So glad. I'm like, hopefully we're on the same page here. I think it's also kind of a fad, to be honest with you, that like people don't want to be structured. It almost feels more masculine, I think, is what it's kind of being taught as right now, to have structure. And I truly don't believe that. I think when you have structure, you actually are more free to do the things that you love and that you want to do. But there is something appealing to a lot of people right now of just intuitively eating, and they're not being good or bad or things that are helping your body. It's just everything and what feels right. And to an extent, I believe you should listen to your body 100%. Like, we need to be in tune with our bodies, but there is a level of nutrients that your body is supposed to have. There is a level of food that harms your body and benefits your body. And so you have to have a balance of those things. And usually that balance needs to be more 90% foods that are benefiting you. And then the 10% of the times that you want to be more present with people and just enjoy a meal here and there. But I think that, quite honestly, the intuitive eating thing has been a little overdone. And that's why a lot of people feel lost in their fitness, because they're seeing these health and fitness trainers say that they intuitively eat and they have this 8-pack and they're shredded, and they only post when they have the donut or they post when they have things. And so these people think that they can eat donuts and they can eat cookies, and why aren't they shredded? Is something wrong with my body? And it's like, no, nothing's wrong with you. Those people just know exactly what they're eating. They've been tracking forever. So
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, that's the nutrition side of it. I'm curious to also know about the strength training and cardio portion too. If you have some sort of strategy behind how you structure workouts for your clients as well.
Yes, I love this. So I would say that's a lot more personal to each person, how, like, the time frame when they're doing it. But I do have a very strong rule that everyone does cardio. Now, this might be like 10 minutes, this might be 15 minutes, this might be 30 minutes, and it might just be your steps. But I think that there is a level of longevity that we have to look at when we're looking at aging and fast twitch muscle decreasing and your metabolism decreasing, where cardio and quick movements help those things stay sustainable for a longer period of time. So I do think there is a bottom line of like all of my clients will always have either a step count or a cardio or something they're doing, and strength training. I am a firm believer that strength training is how you have longevity. It's how you create the shape you want. It's how you create the strength you want. And that's actually something I've gotten a lot of backlash on the last probably 6 months, is because I think there's a little bit of an uproar in strength training being like more masculine and manly, at least from a lot of what we're seeing, and it being more of a fad to do a class or to do Pilates, which I have no problem with, but I believe at the center of it needs to be strength training. That needs to be what you revolve your life, your movement around, not your life, but your movement around, because that's where like your longevity, your bones, your balance, your energy, your hormones, where everything is affected. So I would say those are my two mains. Number one, everyone has something that's helping their heart and keeping their cardio up. And number two, we strength train around here. That is like, everyone knows that if you're joining with us, we're strength training a hell of a lot more than we're doing anything else.
We're in the same boat because did you notice how I had mentioned cardio and strength training as two separate components too?
Yes, I was like, okay, you're speaking my language, because that wasn't in one. So I was like, hallelujah. No, I love it.
I'm curious when it comes to mindset, what role do you like when it comes to mindset work, accountability, community play in your coaching approach, and how you also create these elements in your program too?
Yes, so freaking good. Just like how I feel like I love your podcast, and I think something you touch on a lot is that work that comes inner with that, with mindset, spirituality, a community support being a big part of your health. They're directly correlated with each other. I'm a really, really, really big believer in that. And a lot of the people that come to us have, I don't know if you've experienced this as a coach, but they'll come to you with a little bit of a bad taste in their mouth about coaches. And it's like, they threw these 1100 calorie macros at me. They put me on an hour of cardio and they said, go for it. And there was no support. And then they don't have a very good success. And it's like, well, yeah, like obviously that's not going to work, because I truly believe that 90% of something working is believing that it's going to work, and is believing in yourself that it's going to work. And so the mindset and accountability for us is such a big portion, but I also think it goes really deep into our community. That was something that I was very specific on building when we were creating Balance Babe, because I believe being seen and supported is something we all crave as humans. Like, it's one of our number one cravings, just deep down. And transformation doesn't happen in isolation. It doesn't happen without support and encouragement and feeling safe and challenged and encouraged. And so when we built our community, it was about having different groups of women in there that had different strengths. And one big thing to me was that they didn't all believe the same thing. I was like, we don't need 500 of the same person. We need 500 of women that believe different things and have different views, because that's the only way each of them are going to be able to grow, is when someone can sit down and say, here's the hard truth. I love you. I support you. Keep going. Here's the hard truth. And we've had lots of those conversations in our group chats. And that's where I believe real growth comes from, kind of like I was stating at the beginning, is having that hard truth with yourself, but also having that in people around you. I think we've gotten really used to only positive feedback as a community. And I think that that's not where growth happens. It's uncomfortable to grow, but it's a lot more uncomfortable to stay the same. And I think being open to feedback, being open to, maybe we do it this way, maybe we do it that way, or hey, I tried it this way, I experienced the same thing, let me give you my advice. And being open to that is a really big part of it. And so, I mean, our check-ins are very big portions of that. When we go through our check-ins, it's not always about, did you hit macros 100? Did you hit cardio 100? A lot of the time it's, how mindful were you? Were you able to be more in tune with your body? How well were you able to execute, and how did you feel executing? But sometimes it's also like, hey, let's take a step back from macros this week and focus more on like your response to stress, because we know right now your response to stress is overeating. So if we don't dial that in and come up with a new response, we're never going to get to the root of the problem. So our check-ins are a really big portion of that, really diving into like the accountability and the deeper reasons why. But I would say the community being a space where people encourage and support, but also don't sugarcoat things, is a part that people overlook a little bit.
Do you have your clients engage with each other at all?
Yes, a lot. Actually, that's like one of the number one things that we encourage, is like, when you have a question, of course, send it to your coach if it's more personal, but send it in the group chat, because a lot of the time another woman has the same question. On Mondays, we do intentions for the week, and we make everyone send their intentions for the week inside the group chat so that everyone kind of knows and can hold each other accountable. And then a lot of the time, we force our girls to share our wins in the group chat. Not necessarily force, but if they tell us they did something awesome and they're like, I'm so excited about it, I'm like, I'm going to put you in the group chat. I love you, sorry. And it goes in because I think celebrating each other and also not being scared to be confident and be like, I did the damn thing. It's so cool. And people to be like, yeah, you did, is where you grow a lot. Because a lot of the time I think we're so nervous of sounding cocky or arrogant or whatever someone perceives us as, but it's like, it's not your job to determine how someone perceives it. And so that's a big part of what we do in our group chat too.
Yeah, that's awesome though. I think that's really cool because community is where you don't feel so alone in the things that you're going through. And isolation, like you had just mentioned earlier, it can really damper on somebody when they're going through a transformation journey and they're by themselves and maybe their spouse isn't supporting them or their children don't understand or their best friends might be giving them some backlash or feedback that isn't positive too.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's actually always really surprising to me when people are like, "Oh yeah, my friends are think I'm dumb for doing this or investing in my health or whatever it is." And I'm like, "Okay, I love that and I love that they're your friends, but we should also maybe look at another circle of people to be around because it's like you would think that the people that are most close to you would want you to be your best and would push you to do things outside of your comfort zone." And so I also think that one of the reasons health and fitness can be so lonely is because it really shows you who's in your corner. It shows you who supports you when you're elevating and if they actually want you to elevate. And that's a lot of the time why it can get so sticky with people around you.
Ooh, that's a mic drop right there too. Because I'm like, as you change, your environment's changing, your habits are changing, right? But the people around you might be changing too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Can you talk about a transformation story from one of your clients that still resonates with you, including what happened and why it stood out too?
Yes, yes. My favorite topic to talk about all the time is all of the girls. But I had a client who really struggled with an eating disorder, anxiety, PCOS, and had tried a lot of different things. She had been to the doctor quite a bit and they never ran a full extensive panel. It was like little things they were running. The answer was always birth control or things like that, which I believe modern medicine has its place, nothing against it. But I also believe that sometimes it's overlooked what we're doing in our day-to-day lives before we jump to that. And that wasn't really looked at all. She had joined another coaching team and they had, like I said at the beginning, just thrown macros at her and said, hey, figure this out. You got it. And when you have someone who has dealt with an eating disorder and food noise and different problems with food in the past, you can't do that. You can't just say, figure it out, you got this, and rate your score on from a 1 to 0 every week. Because when you come back and maybe had a rough week and the only thing that you're looking at is, did you do everything 100%? It's like, that's only going to feel like failure. That doesn't feel like success really in any way. So when she came to us, the first thing that we did, I was like, we have to look at nutrient deficiencies because one of the number one things I've seen with all the women we've worked with is anxiety, depression, things along those lines are a lot of the times heightened when nutrient deficiencies are really prevalent. And so we looked at that, got her on a custom pack, got her on nutrients that she needed. And right away she was like, I am handling things that would have thrown me over the edge so much better. Like, I truly don't know what's going on. Like, this is crazy. So that was incredible in itself. And then she decided she wanted to do a bodybuilding competition. And I'm really, number one, picky. I don't always coach a ton of bodybuilders. But number two, if someone has had an eating disorder in the past, I'm even more like cautious. Because I mean, like bodybuilding is, you get put in a really intensive space. And so it's like, there are times that you're looking at your body daily and it gets hard. So when I started with her, I was like, okay, listen, we will do a bodybuilding show. If the main goal for you doing the bodybuilding show is proving to yourself you can put on muscle and proving to yourself how strong you can get. So we had to set like this boundary of like, what is this about in the first place? So she goes through a whole prep, puts on like 5 to 8 pounds of muscle, which was incredible for her. She had struggled with like some bulimia and things in the past. So being able to eat as much food as she was able to was incredible. It was amazing. And this just new confidence. She's a new person. Like, it's mind blowing. And because she went into this prep not focused on being the smallest version of herself, not focused on even winning, it was, I'm going to prove to myself I can do something hard and put on muscle and see how strong I am. she then was able to like leave her bodybuilding competition. She has habits, she has energy, like she's confident. And when things come up, when she's feeling more depressed or anxious or whatever that is, she has tools to handle it so much better. It's not that it never appears now. It's just that she's able to navigate it a lot different. And maybe the times that she's experiencing it deep don't last as long. And she knows she can pull herself out of these places. And a big part of that was like support and community. I think it's really important for coaches to know when you have someone who's struggling with those deep things, and you know this as a coach, it's like you have to open that line of communication a lot more. And you have to be open to having a random call at 7 p.m. or chit-chatting with someone on random time frames, because for a lot of people that's like those pivotal points where when they're at their lowest and they see someone showing up for them and they see someone encouraging them, where they push past that. And so I think that's the one that stands out the most, because there were just so many different angles: physique, muscle, nutrients, and it completely transformed her life. Like she's a mom and she's excited for the day and she's able to handle things with her daughter well and her husband, and it's so cool to watch.
Wow. So she's a mom too and a wife.
Yes, yeah, and that was the craziest part about it. Was she was going through this prep and she just kept telling me, I'm such a better mom and wife. Like I feel like a better mom and wife. And I was like, that is more exciting than anything else, that she was able to like go home from the day and be like, I'm more present. I'm more excited to be with you. And she was spending more time than she ever had working on herself. And a lot of the time you hear that, whether that's mom guilt or wife guilt or whatever that is, from spending time on yourself when there's someone else relying on you. But we sometimes forget that that's how we show up our best for other people, is spending that time working on ourselves so that we can be the best version of ourselves for those people back at home. And it was so prevalent that that's exactly what happened.
I'm so proud of her already. I'm like, I feel like I know her too. This is really cool to hear.
She's incredible. I'm like, and she's just the sweetest soul. Like, it's crazy. She would walk, previously, she'd walk in a room and not really want to be seen. And now, like, she walks in a room and she has bright colors on and her shoulders are back. And it's so exciting. Like, when you see a client transform how they feel on the inside, it's like, that's the best type of transformation. It's like your whole life's different when you feel confident in your own skin.
I always say it's like a boost in confidence, integrity, the character building, all of it.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, so as a CEO and a coach, what leadership lessons have you learned about building a supportive and empowering fitness brand for women?
Okay, I was looking at this, listening to this question, and I was like, okay, what would I want to say here? And I think a lot of the time you're sometimes told like the like exciting part about it, right? Like being a leader is so much fun. Everyone follows you. It's great. And it is. I love it. I would not change it for the world. But I think if there's one thing that I've learned that I could share, or just a lesson or anything, it's that if you have a bold mission, not everyone's going to love you. And that's okay.
Mm.
And I think for anyone creating a space for women, you have to be okay with that. Because if you are constantly worried about what other people think and you are constantly worried about your bold mission, you are showing your clients, you are showing your community that they can't be bold and that they need to be stressed and worried about what everyone thinks. So as I was creating Balanced Babe, and especially a fitness space, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like you're going to face so many trends and opinions and like culture shifts that like there's times when everyone's like, yeah, we love it. And then there's times where they're like, that's horrible. That's not the fad. You're wrong. Like you're horrible, whatever that is. And right now, for example, certain body types and extremes and approaches are becoming really popular again. Like I feel like skinny culture and just being the teeniest, tiniest version of yourself is very prevalent right now. And I have extremely strong beliefs on true health comes from strength and it comes from having muscle. And that's not super trendy right now. And it's also something that I usually get a lot of like backlash for. That's like, how dare you say that someone should be strength training over doing a class or strength training over running? Like, and I'm like, well, because I know the impact it makes, because I will stand 10 toes down on what I know helps women be powerful and I know helps women with longevity. And that doesn't mean you can't believe what you want to believe, but I'm not changing my opinion for you to agree. And I think that as a CEO and a leader and someone who wants to build a strong space is you have to be that strong force. You have to be the person that's like, I don't change it. I don't change what we believe in, no matter what the fad is, no matter what people are saying. I want people to be their healthiest, strongest, powerful version of themselves. And that doesn't mean shrinking for anyone, whether the haters are super loud and it's a bigger portion at that time, or they're small, because it will ebb and flow depending on the fads, the trends, what people are wanting. The biggest lesson that comes out of that is leadership isn't about being liked by everyone. It's about being aligned with your values, serving the women or people who resonate with your message, and building off of conviction and knowing what your mission is and being okay with whatever that creates, and just knowing that you're there to create a deep impact. And sometimes that's going to come with people not liking that, but it will come with people also having the confidence to change their lives, because without you doing that, your community is not going to be able to.
Amen, sister. I am so happy you said that. It's like standing your ground. Trends are going to always come and go. So just keep yourself where you believe that you are meant to be, where it's not just a fad. It's you're standing on all 10 toes, like you said, and really holding yourself to what you are, like you said, believing in, right? And so I am a huge fan of what you just mentioned right now is like strength training and all of this are not the most popular things, and building strength is like the people want to take Pilates classes. They want to go and do HIIT cardio. That's, you see it all throughout the cities of like popular cities are like popping up boutique studios everywhere. And Soul Cycle spin classes, all these different places. And I'm like, okay, these are cool add-ons, but you're not doing the real work here, where the meat and potatoes comes from building strength and the longevity comes from doing the heavy lifting, progressive overload. I'm a big believer in that too. Yes.
Amen. No, I love it. And like, we never see a pop-up strength class. I'm like, I've never been just driving through LA and be like, pop-up strength class, so many people come. Like, it's not a thing. It's not a thing right now. And so I think I love what you're saying. And like, this is where the most transformation happens. And then add the things on. Like, I have plenty of clients who love taking Pilates classes because they like to feel how strong their core is. They like to get their heart rate up, and it makes them feel something inside. And I'm like, I love that for you. I've done plenty of random classes with friends and people where I'm like, I just want to have a fun time. Like, this is great. And not to say it doesn't work, but it's not where the majority of the transformation is going to happen, or the majority of the longevity. I think that's the bottom line, is like, when we're talking longevity and we're talking aging and we're talking energy, it's like, that comes from muscle, that comes from strength. And then you get to add on the other things on top of that. And I also think not always instructors of those things are super honest about it. There are some, not all of them, but I think that there are some people who forget to leave out, hey, I also strength train, and then I teach Pilates, and that's how I'm getting the structure I want. I also strength training and I do cycling classes, and that's how you get both. And I think being very honest, and coaches being very honest, and instructors being very honest on like, do both. This is great to add together, and this is great to be a thing, is where people will start to see that. But right now, I think it's very, you do one or you do the other, rather than understanding there's a time and a place.
There is a time and a place, and you respect both of them individually for what their benefits are. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so you had mentioned your dad owns a supplement company, and I'm curious what supplements, if somebody were to be like, I need to start a supplement stock today, what would you say are like the important things that someone should start or like keep a consistent practice in when it comes to taking supplements?
Oh, I love this. So we have core supplements that we have all of our women on. My number one is essential fatty acids. Like, that is every woman, you are taking that because that's what your hormones run off of. Hormones, if you don't have enough healthy fats, your body's not going to be able to run the way it needs to. So that's number one for women for sure. Men too. Like, my husband has his supplement stack, and I'm like a little extra EFA sometimes in there. So that's one of them. Number two would be a creatine. I'm 100% a creatine lover. I think that it's important for women to be taking that, not just men. But also on the side of like neural pathways connecting better. There's like so much more research now about creatine helping your neural pathways connect better, your brain be able to function better, energy, which is just anyone in the world should be utilizing that, not just someone who's strength training. And then I would probably say like my other favorite right now would just be like a digestive enzyme. If you're not breaking down the foods you're consuming, if you're not breaking down the protein you're consuming or getting the nutrients out of the foods you're consuming, there's no point in eating what you're wanting to eat or eating at your macros if your body's not utilizing it. So I'd say, like, I could keep going on. I'm like, I could give you a list of 70, but I'm like, I would say those would be my three. Like a creatine, an essential fatty acid, and a digestive enzyme would be the base of what I would start with.
And a lot of people have like dairy allergies, gluten allergies, right? And they're wanting to eat all the foods. And I'm like, take digestive enzymes because they help with the process of your body not getting an upset stomach or bloating or, the side effects that come with eating foods that you probably should and don't need to be eating. But I should say shouldn't and don't need to be eating.
No, exactly. I'm Alfredo's like my all of my girls know this. It's like my favorite off meal plan ever if I have that. But anytime I'm having something, I'm like, listen, stick with the habits that you know will make you feel your best if you're going to be having something you shouldn't be having all the time, right? It's like if I'm going to have a dense pasta that probably isn't going to be in my diet all the time, I'm going to add in my enzymes. I'm going to add in my water because it's like those are things that are going to help your body process. So even when you're maybe going off your plan or off what your body's used to, I think enzymes and those small habits are what allows your body to still be able to process it and digest it and not feel as bloated or sick after, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what are some myths or misconceptions about women's fitness and nutrition that you constantly find and having to like debunk yourself?
Yes. Right now, I think the number one is that to look toned, women need to do like high reps, low weight, endless cardio because lifting will make them bulky. I think that's probably the number one right now. And I just think most people don't understand that toned is simply having more muscle and less fat. It is literally muscle with less fat over it. You can see it. It's deeper. And also, I think we forget that that's how shape is built. Like when you're wanting to be toned and shapely, you have to build the shape first. Like that shape isn't just there. You have to create it. If you want glutes, if you want shoulders, that shape has to be built. You have to spend time putting on that muscle. And then you get to taper down your fat percentage after that. And usually that doesn't even mean super, super high rep, tons and tons of cardio. Like usually that's also a little bit of a different process than most people think anyway. So that's probably number one right now in the myths. I bet that's probably something that you're getting a lot too as a coach.
I'm laughing because I posted a reel and I was like, okay, calories determine your weight, macros determine what you look like, and then micronutrients are actually what determine how you feel.
Yes, love. That is like one of my favorite quotes for people to understand. But it's so funny because I think still, even when you tell someone that, they're like, yeah, so I should just eat really little and then I'll just fill it with like greens and salads and things like that. But it's exactly what you said. Your macronutrients is what people forget a lot of the time is like, no, 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 no. There's an amount to each of those that is going to get you to your goal too.
Facts. Yes. Okay, so looking ahead, I want to know what your vision for Balance Babe Fitness looks like over the next few years and how you want to expect or how you expect and want to impact other people to evolve in the way you work with women.
Oh, I love it. I'm a big dreamer. I have big visions, always kind of have, but for Balanced Babe, the vision has always been that we are connected to women across the nation. It is a nationally recognized company that women trust for true transformation. I talk about this a lot, but my main goal is when women commit to Balance Babe, they know that they're not just signing up for their physique to change. They're signing up and committing to a transformation of their health identity, of who she's becoming, of understanding herself at a deeper level and learning that. And I have a really big passion in people knowing that it's not a cookie cutter program, and there are cookie cutter programs out there that are great and they have their time and their place. But when you're coming to Balance Babe, you're coming because you know your whole life is going to transform and change. And one of my biggest goals with that is the education portion of it. I want women to be able to have so much more knowledge about their hormones, their nutrients, their cellular health, so that the media can't confuse them anymore. Fad diets don't look as appealing. They understand their own biology because I believe when women are informed, they're empowered. And that empowerment leads to confidence. And so I would say, beyond expanding nationally and being able to share our vision, I think the biggest thing is that women have a place to come to learn about their bodies on a deeper level so that people aren't as confused with all of the fad diets and the trends that are coming up.
Okay, that is good. I Love talking with you. I love all of the questions that I've been able to ask so far, and your answers are like on point. But I do have one last question that I like to ask every single person that comes on the show. And
Okay.
it's talking about the controllables and uncontrollables. And I always want to know, how do you handle the things in life that you can control, and how do you handle the things in life that you cannot control?
Oh, I love this question. I my whole life I would consider myself a little bit of a control freak. Like I have a type A personality. I want to control it all. But the biggest thing that has been able to shift my perspective on that and help me release some of the control on what I can't is my non negotiables. When I have my non negotiables in place and my standards in place, what I can't control doesn't affect me as much. And anytime something happens and it's out of my control and it's really starting to shake me, I have to ask myself, like, what's going on inside that's making this shake you so much? Why do you want to control that so much? Why do you want to control what they think so much? Why are you trying to control what they believe so much? Like, what's going on? And usually I look back and it's an insecurity in me. And it's like, well, you haven't been showing up this way. You haven't been showing up in your power. And so, the number one way that I think you can control what you can and you can forget the rest is look inward. Always, always bring it back to yourself. Why are you worried about it? Why are you stressed about it? Why is it causing you to be so upset? And then having non negotiables that are who you are and not overlooking them. Having a set schedule in the morning, during the day, that like there are things you do no matter what that keep you steady, that keep you in line, and you control that. And then whatever else happens from that that maybe rocks you a little bit or makes you worried a little bit, you look back inward and again fix what you can control about the situation and then let go of the rest.
That's awesome. And I'm going to put everything in the show notes for people to come and find you, but I want to know, how can people find you through social media, or what are your accounts on there? And again, I will put everything in there, but if you can just tell us right now ways to connect with you, that would be really helpful.
Yes. So my Instagram is BAEFIT, BAEH_fit. Anyone can DM me there. I love getting messages. And then our fitness account is Balanced Babe Fitness. So if anyone's wanting to look at that and our girls and things along those lines, those would be like the two main ways that would be best to find us.
Perfect. So I'll put your website, I'll have your social media links up there. I'll get everything connected. And I am so thankful again to have you on this show. So look out for expansion happening over here in the next couple of months with, I was going to say Balance Babe Fitness, and I just am so thankful to have you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been so good. And your impact on women and just everyone in general is incredible. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you.